Have you ever taken the time to imagine peace? When you close your eyes and envision peace, what do you actually see and experience? Do you envision flowers or butterflies or sweet-smelling perfume in the air? Maybe you see being at one with God or whatever living, life-giving spirit you know exists. I must admit, as a preacher, I love words. I love the way certain words can elicit specific emotions and move us to action. But I also have seen the importance of using words properly because they shape the message we are trying to put into the atmosphere. What then is the message that is given when we use the word peace? Peace is defined as the normal, non-warring condition of a nation, groups of people, and the world. As we consider the definition, the expected state of peace is right there within its description. Peace is meant to be the normal state of things. Peace is meant to be the norm, or the regular state of being, not to be in conflict, to not be in war. Whatever you imagine when you picture peace, according to the definition, it's supposed to be our reality, our main occurrence from day to day. The problem within our world is that our reality is the horrific opposite. It is almost as if we are living in a skin-crawling, heart-wrenching, lamenting nightmare, and we are begging to feel a pinch that might wake us up to the normal reality of peace. Just this week, we have heard of several shootings within our city, one resulting in a homicide. We have heard of another 2 black individuals, one in Tulsa and one in Charlotte, that have been gunned down by police, sending our nation into an uproar as we mourn and are angered as we take in that another human being has been taken from us in a horrific way. Just 1 year ago, we had the incident of Jeremy Bam Bam McDowell, gunned down by police with no consequences and not even a trial given to his killer. We are surrounded by destruction, violence, hurt, pain, racism, and so much more we'd like to avoid. And the painful reality is that even though our definition of peace claims that it is a normal state of being, we live in a society so riddled with violence that our reality is devoid of peace. No, the reality we know is death and chaos. Our entire culture is rooted in actions of violence and destruction. The earth on which we stand is crying out from the blood that was spilled by those whose land was taken at the inception of this country. The earth is crying out from the blood spilled by those who were enslaved and built this country on their backs. The earth is crying out from the blood that flows in the streets from those in present day that have been killed in violence. Our entire reality is shaped in an interpretation and understanding of violence. As we come today at the end of Peace Week, we must come to the realization that while peace should be the norm, when we must raise our voices in protest, naming peace as its goal, we are actually calling for a radical, conscious action that completely transforms our reality. We actually have the audacity to call for something that doesn't often flourish in our society. We stand here today in a part of the city that has been deemed a hot spot, an area that has carried a lot of violence within our city, vowing to radically transform the culture and create a new reality of peace within the streets. We claim that peace will reside, that the deity you claim to be responsible for peace to reside right here, living in this place, healing the very ground we walk on by transforming the hearts and minds of those in this place. We are standing to make sure that peace can begin to live up to its definition and actually become the normal, infusing itself within the culture and transforming the lives around it. It is up to us to begin changing our environment to be normal, an actual culture of peace. What we must understand is that this journey to transform our culture to a culture of peace is not going to be easy. It's going to be a difficult road to travel. It will require us to admit some horrific and hideous things about ourselves and our culture. Things that make us uneasy. Things that we have kept hidden deep within because we thought they were too embarrassing and hurtful to express. We have to accept the fact that our city has been proclaimed to the rest of the nation as Murder Town, USA. This has happened. We can't change what has already been printed in a newspaper, a reality that hurts us to the core. But we can't run from what is, and it's okay to take time to dissect what has happened and mourn for what is. We must deal with the pain, lament in the pain, mourn in the pain, cry out in the pain. But much more than that, we must look at what has caused us to receive the hurtful, horrific name. How did we get to the point that our cultural norm in Wilmington and the rest of Delaware is a culture of violence? We must begin to wrestle with some of the uncomfortable realities that we and the culture around us have done things to perpetuate this concept. We cannot fix the problem until we have clearly identified the problem. And in the words that I heard from Robin Stramp earlier this week, sometimes we have to work through the darker things in order to get to peace. The question is, are we ready to do that? Are we ready to deal with the difficult work on the journey ahead? We then must stand here making a conscious decision to change our actions from the detrimental, oppressive, apathetic, racist, sexist, xenophobic actions that have become ingrained within us to an alternative action that perpetuates love, justice, peace, equality, and respect. We as the community are vowing to do what it takes to change. We as a community are vowing to do what it takes to change our reality so the world around us might reflect what it means to know peace as a cultural norm. In the face of a culture of violence, we vow to create a culture of peace that improves education, provides economic opportunity for all, tears down racism, creates justice for all individuals, respects human rights, brings about equality for all men and women, establishes respect for the rights of the LGBTQ community, allows democratic participation, and the disarming of our nation and communities. And we stand here today with the movement for the culture of peace. We are calling for specific actions within our community. We ask that our city work to revitalize the Hicks Anderson Community Center. We ask for a commitment from the community and the city to have efficient community policing that breaks down the barriers of community and allows community to genuinely work together in mutual respect and with the identification of human dignity. An education and conflict resolution that aids in trauma response and reduction and brings restorative justice. We are standing here, lifting up our voices, vowing to make a change in our community that radically transforms our cultural norm in the state of Delaware to a culture of peace, a cultural shift that will transform our way of life in Wilmington, flow to the rest of Delaware, extend to the rest of the nation, and completely transform the world we live in. I call on the God I serve above, the one some call Allah, some call Jehovah, some call Adonai, some call Mother, some call Father, some call the Great I Am, some call the Comforter, some call Allah Dumare, to come to this place where we stand right now to make a cultural shift right now. A shift that moves us from conflict to conversation and a warm embrace. A shift that moves us from violence to reconciliation. A shift that moves us from poverty to restoration. A shift that moves us from a broken community to the divine, beloved community. Rest within each of us and transform our very being, that peace might move within us and reverberate to the community around us. Allow us to spread peace wherever our feet go and every place our hands touch. Let us never forget the vow we make here, calling for peace to become normal, or what is common within our streets, within our city, within our nation, and within our world. And let the earth we stand on cry out with joy as we learn to love ourselves, each other, and the very earth that we live in. Amen.